Hi everybody, welcome to Push Your Luck video. My name is Eric. Today we'll be looking at Rights. Now this is a game, a 2015 release from Oink Games. It is one of two new releases in 2015. It is designed by Jun Sasaki-san, who also brought you games like Dungeon of Mendem, one of my favorites. Recently there's Deep Sea Adventure, there's also Trolls, and many other games from Oink Games. Now, Rights is a 3 to 5 player game. It takes about 20 minutes to play. It is a light filler set collecting game. And in game, what you're trying to do is to get the most of a particular set. Now, if you do, then you'll be able to force other players who happen to be collecting the same set as you to pay you a penalty. Now, the winner is the player who has the most number of coins at the end of the game when the game ends. So let's take a look at the components, how it plays, and my thoughts. So these are the components that you get for Rights. Now you can see that like many of the other games that they have from Oink Games, it is a very small form game, small box actually. There's wooden tokens inside, and you have cards. Now the cards are really small. You can see how small they are compared in the size of compared to the size of my hand. Now you get 45 cards. They are separated into number 5s, number 6, number 7s, number 8s, number 9s, and number 10s. Now, the number indicates how many of that card there is in that particular set. That means there's 5 cards, there's 6 cards, there's 7 cards, and so on and so forth. The instructions are followed up nicely. You have the Japanese instructions as well as the English instructions. So how do you play the game? At the start of the game, each player is given 10 of these tokens. The grey ones indicate 1, and the black ones indicates 2 tokens. So each player will start with 10, and then you will shuffle these cards and give each player 3 cards. So after you have given each player 3 cards, randomly choose a starting player. Now during a player's turn, during the active player's turn, they will need to draw 1 card, and then from these 4 cards, they choose 2 actions. First action, they can either put it in front of them to form the first set. So if I do it this way, I form a set. I form a set 6. The second thing they can do is to take this card and then pass it to the player on the left. That means in the clockwise direction. Now the player who has been passed this card can do 2 things. Either the player takes this into their own set, or they will need to put one token down and then pass it on to the next player. That means if they do not want to keep this card into their set, they will need to put 1 token as a 1 coin as a penalty and then pass it to the next player. So this continues on until 1 player accepts the card into their set. Now when they do so, they'll take all the coins with them and they'll keep pocket all the coins. So it's like a reward in a way. The next player who starts his next turn will be either the player who has accepted this card, or if let's say I was the one that started this round, I drew the card and I decided to keep 1 in front of my set, then the next player in clockwise order will be the start player. And this continues until a number of cards have been placed in a set in front of a particular player. So for example, if you see here, if there's 5 players, if there's 7 cards in front of that player, then the round will end. And then whoever has the most points will win. So how do you tally points? All players with remaining cards in their hand will now place it in front of them in the set. So that means that for a 5 player game, the player who ended the game will have 10 cards in front of them. Now after you've done so, you go through each set. So for example, you look at all the number 5s, and then you see who has the most cards of that particular set. So if let's say I have two number 5s, and another player has 1 number 5, so that means I have the majority. It means that the player who has the less number than the majority will now need to pay the person who has the majority of that particular set 2 coins for each card that they have. So for example, in this case, let's say it was a 3-player game and I am the majority. Let me try to find another 5. Alright, so let's say it is this case. For example, I have the majority. So this player and this player will need to pay me 2 coins for this card, and this player will need to pay me 2 coins for this card. Now if I had, for example, if it was tight majority, then no one needs to pay anything for any penalty. There's no penalty if there's a tight majority. Which means to say that if let's say I had 3 tens, for example, in front of me, and this player had 2 tens, alright, then that player will need to pay 4 coins to me because I am the majority and I beat this player. So this continues for all the sets, and then players will count the number of coins they have, and whoever has the most whoever has most coins will win the game. So that is the gist of rights. It is a light filler style game. So let's see what are my final thoughts for this game. So that's how you play rights from Oink games. Now, as I mentioned several times, rights is a light filler game. It reminds me of 2 other games, No Tanks and Arboretum. Now, No Tanks, because similar to No Tanks, you will pass the card around. But when you pass the card around, you need to put a coin on it. So kind of penalizing yourself if you do not want the card. So that rights has that kind of aspect. It also reminds me of Arboretum, because Arboretum, when the game ends, you need to have the most of that particular set to be able to score. In this case, it's similar. If you have the most of that particular set, then you are making other players pay you points, penalizing them for trying to follow you, but they're not getting the majority of the particular set. It plays better with 5 players, I think. I think 3 players is not as good, because usually 3 players, and if the one player is caught between 2 players, usually when they are passed a card that one player do not want, he probably will not want it as well, and then you need to pass it along. So thus milking himself of the money. The luck of the draw is pretty high. If at the start of the game you manage to draw like 2 of a kind, 3 of a kind, then you can kind of set the other players up to sabotage them. Let's say you have 3 tens in your hand at the start of the game. Now you know that if you start to play a bit of a 10, or you pass a 10 around, the other players may want to invest in it. They may put a set down. You kind of know that you will get a lot of money from them because you have 3 in your hand. So having a lot in your hand can be very powerful, and that really depends on the luck of the draw. Some players may think that they want to diversify, they want to invest in several things at one time, but usually that will not allow you to win. So the strategy so far seems to be that you need to focus on 1, 2, or even 3 sets to be able to win the game. There's a lot of surprise at the end. So there's a lot of oh, I'm getting ready to prepare this. Oh, should I get this? Oh, I wonder what the person has. Even though the information may not be substantial enough for you to make accurate assessment of what the other players have in their hand, you can roughly guess by how they're playing, what they want, what kind of cards they have in their hand, what they're trying to keep. So you can then make appropriate strategies to either counter them or like dump the stocks if you do not want to still be involved in it and pay the penalty. So this is rights. If you like the light filler game type, then I'll recommend rights. If you prefer something more heavier and medium or heavier weight, then you may want to try it before you buy it. So this is rights from Oink Games. Thank you for watching. Bye.